Most of you have probably seen the movie Taken or heard stories of tourists disappearing overseas with the suspicion of ending up in human trafficking operations. Would it surprise you to learn that human trafficking is not exclusively a foreign issue? According to the Polaris Project, a victim advocacy group, it is clear that the number of human trafficking victims in the United States reaches into the hundreds of thousands. It is also estimated there were at least 365 victims in the state of Georgia last year. I've done quite a bit of research on this topic, since human trafficking has recently appeared in local news multiple times. Today I'm going to define human trafficking, inform you of who is at risk of becoming a victim of human trafficking, and explain the efforts of the government in Georgia as well as private citizen groups to end human trafficking in our state. What exactly is human trafficking? The Trafficking in America Task Force defines it as the recruiting, obtaining, or holding of a person for sexual exploitation or labor use by fraud, force, or coercion. What is meant by fraud, force, or coercion? Fraud can be as simple as misrepresenting a job or as complex as drawing up false illegal contracts. Force is usually physical abuse, and coercion is the threat of harm to a loved one. What is meant by sexual exploitation and labor trafficking? Sexual exploitation can be anything from pornography to prostitution, and labor trafficking victims are used in agriculture, as domestic workers, and even sometimes in factories. According to the Polaris Project, between January and June of last year, 80% of human trafficking cases were sexually related, 14% were labor use, and 6% were unspecified. Who is at risk of becoming a victim of human trafficking? The majority of human trafficking victims are female adolescents. According to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, the average age of a human trafficking victim is just 12 years old, which is the age of many of the students that I will be teaching as a middle school teacher. Terry Benson at the Maryland Governor's Office states that many of these victims are runaways who are picked up by human traffickers within the first 48 hours of leaving home. WTVM News in Columbus reported in January of this year that a 15-year-old local girl was recovered still in Columbus after being sexually exploited for a full month. The elderly can also be at risk. WRBL News in Columbus reported that a nursing home here in town was shut down December of last year because its residents were being mistreated and sexually exploited. Now the question is, what is being done about this problem? The state of Georgia has passed new laws recently to both help the victims and punish the offenders. And private citizens have gotten together and formed groups to recover these victims and help them. In 2011, the state of Georgia passed a law that prohibits the prosecution of a prostitute if that person is being trafficked and allows them to get medical help. The Georgia Department of Law released a press release that explains the new laws regarding sentencing of traffickers. In 2012, they passed a law that requires a 10-year minimum sentence for the trafficking of adults and a 25-year minimum for trafficking minors. These sentences are a major improvement from the previous law, which requires a 1-year minimum for trafficking adults and a 20-year maximum for trafficking minors. A national study also gave Georgia a grade of B in a study that evaluates the laws of a state regarding human trafficking. This was the highest grade given to any state. Locally, a group called Bishop Outreach has formed to help recover and rescue victims and to get them the help that they need. I hope now you have a better understanding of what human trafficking is, who's at risk of becoming a victim of human trafficking, and the efforts of government and private citizen groups alike to end human trafficking in Georgia. It's important for us to know who is at risk of becoming a victim of human trafficking and what is in place to help these victims so that we may be able to help someone avoid this fate in the future. If we spread awareness, we can help reduce the number of victims from over 100,000 to 0. Thank you.